Tensions are running high in the south of Algeria with anti-shale gas protesters bracing for a mega march on Saturday. The first round of the inter-Libyan dialogue has wrapped up here in Algiers, with all the parties at issue agreeing to form a unity government. Fighting continues in central Iraq as national forces continue their steady advance on the ISIS-controlled city of Tikrit. Those were today's top stories. Thanks for joining us live on Dzair News. We start our national news. The heat of protest against the projected shale gas exploitation in the southern Ain Salah region wouldn't cool off. Even worse, the heat now has spread to the province of Ouargla. The citizens there took to the streets in solidarity, and the purpose is to say no to shale gas exploitation. Karim Fazakri illustrates.
The heat of protest against shale gas exploitation in Ain Salah wouldn't cool off. Even worse, the heat now has spread to the province of Ouargla. The citizens there took to the streets in solidarity, and the purpose is to express an utter refusal to shale gas exploitation. A million-participant protest is going to be organized in Ouargla on Saturday. The youth of the province are distributing flyers, books, signs, and of course, the national flags, so as to send a message that we are an inseparable part of Algeria and our rejection doesn't mean our division. Between the legitimate demand which the residents of the south raised as not to exploit shale gas and the right of Sonatrach to explore new underground richness of the country, the equation of shale gas remains complicated, and what made things even worse is the silence of the relevant ministry. The 1 million participant protest now comes to get things out of hand. Thus, one wonders when the crisis of shale gas in Ain Salah is going to be solved.
Moving on to another matter now. The first round of the inter-Libyan dialogue hosted by Algeria, with the participation of a host of Libyan party leaders and political activists, has wrapped up here in Algiers. Algeria highlighted on the occasion the importance of promoting the political solution as the best way to solve the lingering Libyan crisis and rejected any form of foreign military intervention. Nadi Qasmi has the full story.
Preserving the national unity of Libya, working on creating a unified national government, respecting the principles of the 7th October Revolution and principles of peaceful circulation of power, preparations for ceasefire and the withdrawal of all the armed militias from Libyan cities, in addition to collecting all the arms, rebuilding and recreating armed forces such as police and security services to ensure peace and security of Libyan people and to protect its national territory are the main decisions declared at the closure of the first meeting of Libyan dialogue. For the first time since the start of Libyan crisis, Libyan fraction parties sat together on the same table for dialogue. The next meetings of dialogue will be held by having all the Libyan fraction parties sitting together for dialogue. The latter highlighted the importance of this meeting, which they dubbed prelude to a ceasefire and the formation of a government of national unity leading to national reconciliation. The Libyan fraction parties expressed on Wednesday their solemn commitment to preserve Libya's unity, territorial integrity and sovereignty and independence. However, an immediate stop of fire remains the only challenge that faces the Libyan fraction parties. Libyans need to focus on the national figure that is going to rule the national unity government.
During the 32 meeting of the Arab Interior Ministers held here in Algiers, Algerian Minister of Interior and Local Assemblies Dzair did not miss the opportunity to convey during his address some implicit messages, saying that Algeria suffered from terrorism long before the Arab world and is now a pioneer in the fight against this plague now ravaging the Middle East. Lamia Ashoush has the full story.
In the midst of the state of turmoil in the south of Algeria and the many security challenges facing the government, the statements of Interior Minister Dzair during the 32nd meeting of the Arab Interior Ministers yesterday came in a crucial context, carrying along several implicit messages. Belaiz stressed on Algeria's pioneering experience in fighting terrorism, and some argue that he did that for the specific purpose of warning those who want to destabilize Algeria from the one hand, and from the other hand, serving as an example to Arab countries who need to follow Algeria's example in the fight against terrorism.
استطاعت الجزائر أن تنتصر على الإرهاب.
Algeria has been able to triumph against terrorism. Back in that time, a lot of countries either observed us in silence or helped those terrorists and accused us of assassinating Muslims.
في مواقع المسؤولية.
According to Tayyip Belaiz, the winds of change brought by what has been widely known as the Arab Spring are the main reason behind the state of turmoil and instability that some Arab countries are suffering from. Belaiz, therefore, reiterated Algeria's stance of favoring unity and brotherhood between all the Arab nations, saying that moving past all disputes, misunderstandings, and futile conflicts is pivotal to build a strong alliance capable to face the challenges ahead.
Moving on to the thorny educational file. Following the decision by the CNAPES Education Union to go ahead with its open-ended strike, EUROF is threatening the students' academic future at a time when the union's prevention officers insisted on the need to continue challenging the Ministry of Education, which has so far refused to address the striking teachers' pending socio-economic claims.
Teachers' National Council Union of Technical and High School decided on the closure of the National Conference to continue their open strikes, which have started since the 16th of February, in a time when their demands were considered as unconvincing by the Ministry of Education. The latter organized an exceptional and urgent meeting to review the strikers' decision. The Ministry of Education and its national partner CNAPES coordinator Mr. Mnowar Al-Arabi hinted that National Council CNAPES are studying the organization of protests and gatherings in several provinces of the country. CNAPES' decision to continue their strikes is actually very crucial, as a year of studies is lurking in the horizon, thus threatening the future of Algerian high school students. This will only result negatively on the students and their parents, especially baccalaureate students. Unfortunately, this year's academic school year started with strikes that spoiled the smooth flow of studies in the Algerian schools. However, battles between the Ministry of Education and its national partner CNAPES continue, as far as the latter are insisting on having their demands accepted by the Ministry of Education, even though at the expense of the students' future.
Attempting to develop industry in Algeria, the FCE Forum, 6 new pillars to bind a real partnership between Algerian small and medium-sized enterprises and their French counterparts by inviting to Algeria the former Economy Minister of France, Arnaud Montebourg.
Attempting to develop industry in Algeria, the FCE Forum seeks new pillars to bind a real partnership between small and medium Algerian enterprises and their French counterparts by inviting the ex-Economy Minister of France, Arnaud Montebourg. We have informed Mr. Montebourg that it is priority number 1 to develop industry in Algeria. Thus, we are going to do our best to make this happen, especially that we know that it is through these small and medium enterprises that the economy becomes strong. Montebourg didn't consider the rule of 51%, 49% an obstacle for investment. Moreover, there's news that many sectors are going to be exploited. This seems the perfect opportunity to learn from the French experience in many vital fields.
Le Forum des chefs d'entreprise ici réfléchit à la manière de dynamiser et de faire en sorte que
the FCE Forum here works in a way to make the enterprises stronger in the sense that it will create more jobs and a better future for Algeria.
de l'Algérie.
The French have noticed the Algerian will to develop industry beyond oil and gas and considered the Algerian soil fertile for any kind of investment. The core of economic force lies within the small and medium enterprises. So with this, the door is wide open for both Algeria and France to have strong economic bases.
Algeria's surplus trade stood at $4.63 billion in 2014 against $9.94 billion in 2013, declining by nearly 53%. This marked slump in the country's trade surplus is prompted by increased exports by around 30% during last year in comparison with 2013. Mohamed Barazwan illustrates.
Algeria's exports hit over $58 billion from January to late November 2014 against $59 billion in the same period of 2013, slightly down 0.68%, said the National Center for Data Processing and Statistics of the Algerian Customs CNIS. Concerning imports, that rose to over $53 billion against $50.19 billion, up 6.19%. These results show the rate of coverage of imports by exports of 110% against 118% in the same period of comparison, down 8 points. With this rate of evolution, the customs expect to wrap up 2014 with a trade surplus of about $5 billion. According to forecasts by the CNIS, the exports are expected to reach throughout the year nearly $64 billion, while imports are expected to hit $59 billion. The hydrocarbons continue to represent the bulk of the Algerian exports, with a share of 95.75% of the overall volume of exports, that is $56.2 billion during the first 11 months of 2014 against $57.23 billion in the same period of the past year. The revenues from all exports have indeed decreased slightly 1.84%, which is explained in particular by the drastic slump in world oil prices. The non-oil exports, which accounted for 4.25% of the total amount of Algerian exports, reached nearly $2.5 billion during the first 11 months of 2014. The non-oil exports are made up of semi-finished products, foodstuffs, raw products, industrial capital commodities, in addition to non-food consumer goods. Concerning the imports, two groups of products decreased, that is of energy and lubricants, and were set at minus 38.84%. Algeria's first 5 customers are Spain, followed by Italy, France, Great Britain, and the Netherlands. As for the main suppliers of Algeria, China tops the standings with over $7 billion, followed by France, Spain, Italy, Germany, and the United States of America.
Still with our economy file, mobile phone operator Ooredoo achieved record revenues in 2014 as they reached 102 billion dinars during the annual ceremony to honor the Algerian woman held at the Rassi Hotel in Upper Algiers. Ooredoo's acting CEO, Mr. Dzair, said that the launching of 3G in Algeria had tremendously helped his company improve its investment funds, which reached $312.4 million during the same year.
Ooredoo has, for the first time, gone beyond 100 billion dinars. The turnover for the previous year is 102 billion dinars. This is an incredible achievement registered by Ooredoo. Concerning investments, $312 million were invested, especially during the launching of the 3G and improving Ooredoo's network.
And now we move on to our international news, and in the latest on the Iraqi situation, fighting continues in central Iraq as national forces continue their steady advance on the ISIS-controlled city of Tikrit. The bitter battle is taking place on several fronts and is far from being resolved.
Iraqi defense forces have recaptured 75% of ISIS-controlled Tikrit, the birthplace of former President Saddam Hussein. A cast of 300,000 fighters have besieged the strategically located city, which lies approximately 200 kilometers north of Baghdad. Iranian and local militias have supplemented the coalition, which began 9 days ago. The so-called Islamic State of Iraq and Syria have occupied the territory since last June, but finally seems to have capitulated under intense pressure from this new coalition. Around 150 ISIS fighters still control a quarter of the city, though independent reports claim that their vanguard has retreated to the city center. In response to Tikrit offensive, ISIS launched an attack of its own on Ramadi in the province of Anbar. Earlier today, Deputy Head of the Anbar Provincial Council, Falih al-Awsal, explained that the city was being attacked from all directions. More than 150 mortars rounds and Grad rockets rained on the city. The rebels also set off 21 car bombs in and around the city, killing 5 and wounding dozens. The attack has been described the most intense attempt by ISIS to capture Ramadi. It is too early to predict the outcome of either offensive, though specialists claim that the results of both battles are critical in the battle against the so-called Islamic State.
A word about sport now. Tomorrow afternoon, Nat Hossein Dzair will welcome Asil Arba to Stade 20 for the quarterfinals of the 2015 Algerian Cup. Nassim Yuto and Sherif Abdeslam spoke to Dzair News about their upcoming fixture.
This will be a match in the Algerian Cup that we could say is a derby. But we will prepare for this match as we prepare for any other. There is no special preparation aside from maybe practicing for a penalty shootout. We hope we can live up to our billing on the day. We're going to take it match by match, whether it's the cup or the league. We have belief because we beat Ain Fikroun in Ain Fikroun, which is quite difficult. We hope this match will be easy for us. We're putting in all efforts because the cup has its own particular taste and it's an objective for our side.
And now in European football, Paris Saint-Germain and Bayern Munich have advanced to the quarterfinals of the UEFA Champions League after respectively defeating Chelsea and Shakhtar Donetsk last night. Maher Mizahi has more on yesterday's action and tonight's Europa League action.
Paris Saint-Germain overcame a numerical disadvantage to defeat Chelsea at Stamford Bridge. Zlatan Ibrahimovic was sent off in the 32nd minute after colliding with Chelsea midfielder Oscar. Gary Cahill and Eden Hazard put the pensioners ahead twice, but the centre-half tandem of David Luiz and Thiago Silva both scored equalizing goals to send the French champions through on away goals. Joining the Parisians in the quarter-finals is Bayern Munich, who easily disposed of Shakhtar Donetsk at the Allianz Arena. The Bavarians triumphed 7-0 with a brace from Thomas Müller and goals by Frank Ribery, Holger Badstuber, Robert Lewandowski, Jerome Boateng, and Mario Götze. Shakhtar were helpless in the face of the German onslaught as defender Alexander Kucher was sent off in the opening few minutes of the match. Fawzi Roulem is the only Algerian international in Europa League action tonight. His side Napoli hosts Dinamo Moscow in the first leg of the round of 16. Algeria's left fullback has already contested 7 matches in the competition and has an assist to his name.
To wrap it up, we move on to the western province of Saida, where reviving traditional craftsmanship is the order of the day. Thanks to the traditional industries and craftsmanship showrooms, we strive to encourage local talents and pave the way for everyone to showcase their creativity and know-how in this field of endeavor.
Traditional craftsmanship are one of the things that the government has given a particular interest to. By creating traditional industries and craftsmanship showrooms in each province, such as the one set up in the western province of Saida, which has become the gathering point of craftsmen and those who want to develop their talent in an encouraging environment. This coincided with the organization of a fair for traditional and patrimonial products. The fair contained different traditional products, from the very popular traditional outfits to the region's rich traditional cuisine. Encouraging the different activities and paving the way for everyone to showcase their creativity is the main purpose of the showroom, which strives to give a chance to those who want to revive the region's traditional patrimony.
The showroom aims to revive traditional industry and give a chance to women who have talent but don't have a chance to exhibit it. So, we want to train them to become productive contributors in society.
The fair ended with these festivities, simulating a traditional wedding ceremony, while honoring the best craftsmen and encouraging the rest to participate in the upcoming editions.
And that was the end of our news in English. Thank you for stopping by. Bye-bye.